let's take it away. Bert, go ahead and I want you to start us off.
Let's get started. So, hey, hello, welcome everybody. Glad that you could make it today. So what we're going to do, this is Hacks Hackers, journalists and technologists, and this is our vibe coding show and tell session. Thanks to support from the MacArthur Foundation for making these possible. Um, yeah, and what this is about is really, I mean, for those of you who've been trying using tools like Claude Code, Codex, Google, Gemini, anti-gravity, all these things, this technology just in the last few months has gotten pretty amazingly good. I feel like, there was the promise of AI assisted coding for a while, or AI, applications that kind of get built for you, things like Lovable, stuff like that on the
Não, Ju,
web.
eu tô no, naquele negócio de uma hora.
Please mute yourself, whoever that is. But yeah, so basically, sorry, that throws me off. But basically, I mean, in the last few months, I mean, just since the end of last year, things like Claude Code have gotten extremely good, extremely good. And I feel like people who have tried it, it almost feels like you've joined a religious cult that you want to like talk about all the things you're building and can share and whatever. And just the speed at which you can do things and the possibilities are kind of amazing. So that's really what we just wanted to talk about. And I called up Joe because Joe has been sharing all these things that he's been building on this shared Slack channel that we're on, and I can just like sense the excitement in all his messages, and he's just banging out all these projects. So I thought he'd be a good person to co-host this, show some of the things he's building, and we just kind of talk through some of his things, and then we're happy to throw it open to have other people share some things as well. There are a lot of people now, way more than I thought would be on this call. So obviously we cannot open it up to have everybody share something, but we will try to do some of this. And I will be sharing this Google Doc link in the chat right here now, which is basically an open doc. So if you have something you want to share, please go ahead and enter it in the doc. And hopefully, maybe we'll get to it, maybe we won't, but you'll still be able to share other stuff and you'll be able to see links of things that other people are talking about.
Yeah, and I
So,
just want to interrupt real quick and say like the reason we're doing it this way is because both Bert and I think Paul as well, we've been to several conferences and workshops and stuff, mainly the in-person conferences. And I no shade to ASU, but they did one at ASU, and I was so excited to go there and just like pretty much just watch other people use their computers. And it ended up being more of a traditional conference because every time I've seen somebody screen share and just see what keyboard shortcuts they use, look at the different tools they have open. Oh shit, what's that? Oh shit, what's that? And instead it was like a very, this is a conference kind of a thing. And we got so much more from the exterior or the extracurricular sessions that we did, that it was just like, we need to do one that is just, let me see how you use your computer in the context of vibe coding. So that's what we're going to try to do today. And that's why we're really excited to see, I guess all of you wanted to do something similar. So great to see so many of you on here.
so Joe, share your screen. Let's see some stuff. And we'll try to talk about some points and then, about vibe coding in general. I also want to say, as you go ahead and share your screen, I mean, the people who came to this call or who answered the registration questions, we do have a spectrum of people. Like some people are like all out on, things like Claude Code and buying max plans, to up their, quota so they can keep doing more and more things as they run out and do a lot of stuff. But other people have not tried it yet. I mean, about 40% of the people who registered for this event say they've maybe played around with a little or not at all, or like a little bit nervous about, the command line. So that's like,
It's yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
don't
Well,
be
before I
scared.
share the
I mean,
screen, though, before I share the screen, I want to talk about that because I'm teaching a MOOC, massive online open course for the Night Center at UT Austin again this year. This is going to be I did the prompt engineering 101, and now it's advanced prompt engineering. But the theme that I'm trying to do with this one that's coming up, which I think it's going to be announced this week or something, but is like escaping the chat window, because I want to say, like, I know most of you maybe, but how many people in here, if you put a one in the chat, if you have never, if you only use these via the web apps, like you go to Claude.ai or you go to chatgpt.com, drop a one in the chat if you have only used these tools, or Gemini.app, and only use them on the web. I want to see what how many people here. Okay. So a lot of people. Okay. A lot of people. Both, but prefer web app. Okay, interesting. Okay, so drop a 2 in the chat now if you have used these tools in like the native like Mac or Windows app, like the Claude desktop app or the ChatGPT app that has one. 2, okay. And that's your main, that's your go-to. 2, but prefer web. Okay. All right. Now I'm not talking about Claude Code on the web, which is a separate case, but okay. Okay. Now drop a 3 in the chat if you have completely converted and you are only in the terminal or command line. Or an IDE like VS Code or something like that. Yeah, yeah.
And I still sometimes go back to the desktop app, but yeah, most.
I just saw somebody says I've done vibe coding in Canva. Jim, holy crap. Okay, because I know they had those, but that's wild. That's
No,
awesome.
share your desktop. You got to
All
share your
right, I'm
desktop.
going to share my desktop. All right, I'm going to
Boy,
share my
come
desktop.
on.
Okay, all right. So this is what I mean by Claude in the web here, the Claude Code in the web. I'm a big fan of using the terminal. It's so much that I built my own terminal wrapper called Audio Bash, so I can use my voice to do stuff, and I can show you how that works, I guess. But basically, when I open up, my main thing as of late has mostly been through the Raspberry Pis that I have set up, and I use it.
Joe, could you zoom in a little bit so
Yeah,
folks could see?
absolutely. Yeah, let me zoom in here. How big
And
do we
if
need?
you
Is
have
that
questions also about anything, any jargon, anything Joe says, please, no question is a bad question. Pop it in
no,
the
really? Yeah, it's not. And
chat.
you guys do me a favor, and I got the chat open on my second monitor here. Um,
Raspberry Pis is not something you eat. It is a
no,
tiny little computer that is
it looks
very
like these little things. It's
cheap
this tiny little.
with a case on it. The actual computer itself is literally just the circuit board that costs like $100 to $200 depending on kind of what you get, and it's basically it can run all the time in your closet and do things for you like a server. Yeah, like
Awesome.
actually.
Wait, I have to open this up because Jim just sent what he used. He used Canva and he made this with the vibe coding in Canva. Crazy. Oh, you did the quiz. Oh shit. Okay. I'm just clicking through. Oh wow. Okay. So I knew you could do this in Canva, but I did not realize. Oh my goodness, look at all this going. I did not realize how crazy it was. So I use PowerShell, but I made a wrapper for PowerShell. And the reason why somebody asked why would you need a wrapper for PowerShell is for this. So number one, I have it hooked up with a Whisper local model. It's about a half a gigabyte that you can download and use it for voice transcription. And it really was because I wanted to be able to like work on other things while this was open on the computer, but I didn't want to have to keep switching back to the terminal. So I have little keyboard shortcuts that I can just be like, tell me about the various projects that we've worked on. And it will process this and it will automatically send it to the terminal when it's done transcribing and processing. So this can be in the background and it'll still work. I don't have to, it automatically hits submit. I don't have to keep switching back and forth. I can also select folders and directories that I want to work on with the terminal without having to type in CD this, CD that.
So this
And
is
favorite
getting a
thing.
little meta here. So these are tools Joe has built to make vibe coding
Yeah.
easier
Yeah.
by coding them, just to be
Yeah.
clear,
It's
right?
this, it's inevitable. When you do this kind of stuff, you end up getting a little too meta eventually. And you end up doing these kind of things. So it works with Gemini, 11 Labs for voice transcription. I got a bunch of different models you could use, auto send to terminal. But my favorite thing is I accidentally vibe coded this. So if I open up a new one and I have it just in PowerShell mode, I can switch this to agent mode and it will translate what I say into terminal or bash commands. So and if it gets it wrong based on the environment, it saves the context of the error message. So if I can say, oh, I hope this works, open Microsoft Edge and go to the Center for Cooperative Media.org website. And so now it's going to try to translate that into terminal, into bash commands. And when it gets it wrong the first time, it usually does, it will save that error and adjust for the next command. So it's going to open Microsoft Edge in a new window and go to the Center for Cooperative Media's website. And each time it does it, it iterates and it like saves the error message. So it tries to correct. And so this was like an
Joe,
accidental.
couldn't you just do that yourself manually?
I could, yes, but I don't know terminal commands. Yeah. So what if it does
Joe, what if I
what if it,
unmute and say RMRF? Yeah, good,
yeah,
good.
exactly. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. So anyway,
yeah,
this is
so
how I
that, I
usually
mean,
interact.
to the
This is
point
how I
actually,
usually interact.
we should, I mean, talk about this, like the security thing, because that is something that somebody
That
raised. And
is why, yes.
what is going on here with vibe coding and why this is different than just using like the web version of
Yeah.
Claude or even the
So that
desktop.
I thought of that especially, and I added, so you can add raw transcription instructions or agent mode instructions that explicitly tells it, do not ever do this, do not ever do that, because I almost did have that example. And you'll notice that my stupid ass is running this on YOLO mode here, bypass permissions. Like I'm running it on dangerously skip permissions. And maybe you're like me, maybe not, but once I did make that transition to skip all permissions, I can never go back.
Right. I have not.
It is very hard to
But
go
again,
back.
just for the people who might be not knowing, following all this, I mean, the point here is that the AI is able to manipulate files on your computer, which yes, could be potentially very dangerous. Like
Mm-hmm.
somebody just, posted the message that basically delete all his files. But so there are ways to set this up in a secure way where it is limited to just working with certain folders. It is kind of interesting though, because once you start doing this and realizing the power of letting it do more, you kind of start wanting to give it access to more things. And that, culminates in the whole like open claw thing, which we could also touch on a little bit, which is basically, a continuous agent that can do everything on your computer that you can do. Um, but yeah, yes, there are risks to some of this stuff that you could delete
Absolutely.
files. Yeah. And there also are ways to like, again, the AI cannot go outside of its sandbox unless you give it the permission to. It's not going to randomly just go roving through your computer and start deleting stuff and looking for stuff. But it's very easy to give it permission to just do that. So you do need to be kind of cognizant of what you're doing when you do that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's really the approach that I've taken. And I, it's so funny because I also didn't know that there was an actual sandbox. Like I just made a folder called sandbox and thought that that's what I was doing. So it took me a while to like learn and Googled all this stuff and figure out like, oh, there's actually a way that you can sandbox things or
But
to
again, and
isolate them.
part of the thing with this too is, I mean, for people who are just getting started, like you can simply ask these agents to help you do this stuff and explain it to you and help you set it up. Like no question is too dumb, certainly for the bots, right? Like so, I mean, if you don't know how to do these things, like literally tell it you don't know, and please talk to me as if I'm not a developer, and please explain it. These kind of prompt engineering type tricks that people know about already, but just go ahead and do that. And by doing this, it actually does help you learn something. Joe, why don't you pull up like something that's more of a like
Yeah,
the reroute NJ or something else that's more
sure.
just a
Okay.
project that you built? Yeah.
Yeah, so right now, we'll start here. So right now I'm just having it run the initiation thing. For those who don't know, when you do this in the terminal, you have the init command for Claude Code. I think Codex and Gemini also have this. And what it does is it reviews all the files in your directory that you have it open in, and it creates an agents.md or a Gemini.md or a Claude.md. And those are, as for those of you who know this already, bear with me, but who don't, that is the core like memory or instructions file for that directory. There's a global one, there's a user level one, and then there's project level ones. And you can put those files, those Claude.md markdown files, in any folder that your bot is working in. And every time you load a session or you start a conversation, it will automatically inject that information into the context for that conversation. And you'll notice that as this is working, the context that it's used is filling up. So you have to be careful with that because it is loading that every conversation. So you want to keep that under about 40,000 characters, generally speaking. And so what that means is that it'll remember things each time. And one of the problems with the chat window is that you can have one set of custom instructions, but you have to constantly reiterate or remind it of other instructions that you have for specific projects, which is one of the benefits of using it in here. So one of the first things that I built with this is something called Pocket Link. It's a very simple browser extension because I'm constantly sharing links with people. And I wanted to be able to right click on any page and just create a short link and then have that short link be in my clipboard. So I wanted a bit.ly link for any page. And now I described what I wanted. I created a PRD, a product requirements document, and I gave that to Claude and said, hey, help me figure this out. Help me build this. And it works. And I even got it accepted to the Google Chrome web store. And it's a free extension that anybody can download. It has one rating from this guy, Joe Amditis, who says he made it and he likes it. But this is just for me. And I realized you don't even need to get it
I
up on the web
disagree with
store.
the agent. ghost leave spam reviews on your
There you go. Please. I don't care. I installed it locally at first. You can just upload a zip file to Google Chrome or Microsoft Edge, and it'll work. And so I started this very small on purpose because I wanted to understand, like, what is it actually capable of doing, and how can I use this to make things that address the annoying things about the computer, or the things that I find annoying about the computer or the internet that I haven't been able to find a solution for. So that's exactly what I did. I just told it what I wanted to do, what annoyed me about things, and then I worked with it back and forth to test to see if it would build the thing that I wanted, and it did. And now anytime I right click on a web page, I have this in my little right click menu, and I click create short link. There, it was inspired by a couple other browser extensions that I love. One being copy as markdown. I can highlight any text, right click and say copy selection as markdown, which is really great for working with LLMs. And I figured, what else can I put in my right click menu? Because that's obviously something that browser extensions can do, because other browser extensions did that. So what do I want to put in there? I said, oh, I'll do a short link generator I'll call it pocket link. And now that works. So that was the very first like vibe coded thing that I did that was really useful for me. And yes, Hong, GitHub is an incredibly useful. It took me a year to quote unquote understand GitHub. There were for the first like several months that I was using these tools, I was straight up just uploading things to my Google Drive account, and then when I wanted to work on them on a different computer, I would open my Google Drive and download it again. So the version control, the conflicts were out of control. It was a mess until I finally understood. Like it wouldn't click in my head. Where does the code actually live? Like I've had it. I was having Gemini with its 1 million context window. I was having it write, massive single HTML files for like websites and stuff using Canvas or the AI Studio. And then I would just paste that into a custom HTML block on WordPress, and then do an endless battle with my WordPress theme to make it actually look good and work. And that was the only way I was able to figure out in my head. I couldn't figure out how to get things on the internet, or how do I get them to run? Where does the code live? And it wasn't until I tried Replit at first, which worked, but it's really expensive. But I was like, I already have a website. I have the code. How do I make it work? And I didn't understand that you have to create folders. You have to create folders with multiple files. Like, so where was your breaking point, or how did you win it? It was the point where like the HTML files had to have the CSS and JavaScript baked in, and they were so massive that they were slowing down everything. I think I have an example of what that used
there
to
are
be.
levels of things you could do, right? I mean, you could
Yeah,
start off like some of
you
these
could.
things that you could create could be just a little script that runs on your computer. It doesn't need to be in the cloud. It doesn't need to, have version control, whatever. You can just edit it. But
You
yeah, I
could.
guess once you start going down the rabbit hole, which obviously Joe has gone deep down the
Hmm.
rabbit hole, like you start realizing why these things matter, which is again why it's like the more you play with this, it actually helps you learn. Joe's background is not in IT, right? You are not a computer science
No, no,
major. You are not a coder by trade, right?
nope.
Yeah.
These were the kinds of things that I was making with Gemini, that were just single HTML files. And again, they work, they do what I wanted them to do. But going through WordPress, I had completely forgotten about FTP uploaders. But I was
Yeah, okay,
modding
here you
Halo when
go.
I was a kid, so that's my background. But I was
Yeah.
like, that's about as far
Show
as it goes.
can you show the like the New Jersey Transit thing?
Oh yeah, reroute. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
this is one of the more recent ones that I made. This is a um the Portal Bridge in New Jersey. For those of you outside of New York, New Jersey area, the Portal Bridge is like a huge choke point for NJ Transit and Amtrak going in and out of New York City. And millions of commuters rely on it every day. And it's a 113-year-old bridge or something. It's massively old. It's incredibly old. So they are replacing it this whole month until about March 15th, actually, um, according to the plans. They're switching the bridge over. So until then, there is a single track that goes in and out. And I saw a TikTok from NJ.com about how scattered all the information about this cutover is. And I was like, all right, well, let me see if I can create a tool where you can select your line and your station, and it will give you the before and after of your normal service versus your cutover service, so that people can easily access it. And that's what I did. I have it as a commute comparison here. You can choose your station, you choose your line, you choose your station, and then you get a commute comparison. I'm going to Penn Station, and you can see how your commute will be affected. There's also a rolling list of news coverage about the cutover. I made a map of it, and that people can embed. And then I have a little info card that you can generate as a PNG and download it, and then you get an image, and you can keep that in your camera gallery, right? So you can know, hey, all weekday traffic will be diverted to Hoboken. And then I was like, well, what if we have people other than English? So I had it write some JavaScript that translates it into the 10 most spoken languages other than English, according to NJ Transit data. And now everything is downloadable as well. So you can, even the PNG will be translated when you download it. I left the station names and things the same because that's what people are going to see when they're in the station. And I put it out there, and a couple of news organizations embedded it. Now I have about 2,000 unique users every day, according to Cloudflare. And it's all open source. Anybody can, update it or clone it or whatever. Explains how I built it, how to embed it, how the translation methodology works. And it was just a simple thing that didn't exist that I figured might be useful for anybody who wanted to use it.
I mean, and again, the point, I guess, with some of this stuff is like the barrier is so much lower now. Like the time to build out this whole site for something that's only what in effect for like a month and a half, right?
Yeah,
Is that
took me about a
like
day and a half to get it right. Yeah.
took you a day and a half to build the whole site? But I mean, previously, if you had to like would it pay to like hire a developer, to hire an agency to like build this whole project, to do all this, to architect, by then maybe it would already be over. But now, because the barrier to creating something is so
Yeah.
low, to me, that's kind of what
And
Vibe Code
it's
is
important to
about.
note
Like,
as well, like this is a great project for that because it straddles the barrier between, hey, this is a personal thing with no sensitive information involved. There's nobody's credit card number involved. However, these are things that people may or may not be relying on for their daily lives. So it really is important to get it right for something like that. If you're talking about something like a browser extension that you can right click and add a short link to your thing, you don't necessarily need a full developer. If it works, it works. But I've always been really anxious and neurotic really about, my imposter syndrome with this. And imposter syndrome goes crazy when you are literally an imposter in this case, around the idea of I don't even know what I don't know. So for things that involve any kind of sensitive or user data, I would want a real developer. And in fact, I worked with a local news AI Slack group and actual coders to say, hey, is this going to be do you notice any major red flags? Of course, Claude, I had it red team it as well. But Claude, reviewing its own work, it just felt like an Ouroboros a little bit. But for things that do involve like actual user data, you do want to work with real developers and security professionals. But for something that is, cosmetic or front end only, or something like this, where it's just useful information that's already out there and you're just organizing it, the time from ideation to deployment and production can be drastically reduced. And the reason why I made it open source is so that anybody can submit any issues or errors that they find, and then I can address them as quickly as possible.
Joe, when you vibe code your own stuff, do you always ask Claude to red team it for
Always.
security? Okay.
Yeah, and I have a series of skills and hooks that I have built in to stop me at anything that's like maybe a one-way door, where if I make this decision, it would make it a lot more difficult to reverse that decision later down the road. Like there's all kinds of ways that you can customize your setup so that it sort of bakes these concerns in. But I'm always nervous that it's going to miss something because I have no idea. If it tells me it's red teamed and it looks good, all I can do is go, yeah, cool, sounds good, to a certain point, because I don't have security infrastructure background. I can simply ask it a bunch of different times and say, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? So yeah, when I'm doing something that's serious that might have some implications for people's actual lives, I have a group of a collection of actual nerds who I go to and say, hey, are these the right questions that I'm asking at the very least? And usually if I'm asking the right questions, I can be pretty confident that, I will be okay.
I want to show something now very
Yeah,
quick,
that's why
which
I
is
stopped.
just
Yeah, go ahead.
which I think the way that I started playing around with this was just to, and other people have suggested this, to create your own personal website. Like I was paying like a service like 20 a year or something to have a personal site, but like why not just use this to create something? So I vibe coded my personal website. It's a static site. It's hosted on GitHub for free, so now I'm not paying anything for it. And I guess I just started again describing it, saying what I wanted, kind of put my bio, putting links in. This is just one of the first things I did was just kind of, fooling around with this and just asking the AI too, like, okay, what suggestions do you have to make the UX better, to make it look modern, to make it look clean? It suggested these nice little boxes that would like float and have these nice little effects here. And then I kind of, put little Easter eggs, like when you mouse over this, my name, it does this. But then I got kind of a little crazier and I was kind of wanted to put something fun on here. So I have this little button on the bottom, which unfortunately the sound doesn't
I
work.
love that.
But anyway, I have a whole like embedded Space Invaders game inside my personal website.
So,
It
Bert,
works
in
for low animation.
here, Bert, question. When did you prompt it to say, give me something fun, or you particularly ask for a game? So I just want to make sure that when you guys speak about like, hey, here's what I do, like, can you be more specific?
I no, I told it I wanted to make the game, and I guess I actually and I yeah, I wanted Space Invaders. I wanted, it to take my image and turn everything green and have a retro, bitmap kind of vibe. And I actually told it like the sound, which I'm not sure if you could hear, like the music. I want a music that goes like half steps, dun 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 dun, and it speeds up, as the game gets harder and it has different level. I just explained all this to it, but it also, knows in its memory somewhere what, you know, generic arcade games are supposed to be like. And so it, yeah, went ahead and added some of its own things too, which is sort of crazy. Yeah.
And when you both did this, because sometimes when you look at the code, it literally looked like a bloody mess. Now, do you ask Claude to actually redo the entire thing in a way that could be editable by like a low level
You mean like, do we
coder?
have it add comments, like explanatory comments to the code?
Yeah.
I used to do that a lot because when especially as I was first trying to understand, certain concepts, comments for code can be really useful, and they are originally there so that for a couple of reasons, but number of them being, you know, you go into a code base, you go, who the fuck wrote all this? And you realize it was you a month ago and you've already forgotten. But also just in terms of like understanding what I'm looking at, especially when I was still doing this in Gemini, I was like, I don't want to have the bot, go through the whole code base just to change the line spacing or change the color on something. So I would just have it comment out all of the HTML and CSS and JavaScript so that I can go in and make adjustments. Again, this is before I was working with the terminal and working in actual project files. And it was just annoying. Like I also work with other people. And so instead, if I wanted to, instead of using the WYSIWYG MailChimp campaign editor, I would say, hey, Gemini, like here's what I came up with. Can you use our front end design, notes, and here's some resources on better front end design. Let's make a better version of this or style this better. And it can only give you, or at the time, only give you an HTML block. So MailChimp allows that, but then Stephanie, my boss, would be like, I want to edit this or change this. And I'd be like, well, good luck. Have fun swimming through all that HTML, which she hates. So it was like, let me add comments so that if somebody else wants to get in there and change stuff, and make the comments as if I'm an idiot and I've never seen a computer before. So it would literally explain out, hey, here's how you change this, changes the color. If you adjust this, it does this. And over time, I don't need that as much anymore because I'm sort of learning via osmosis. And the things that I have to constantly edit and change, I now know how to change them. But for more complex stuff, I still will have it create full docs, like full documentation, and it will create. I always have it like to create idiot guides, like full explainers and visual breakdowns for non-tech people, me, so I can understand what it does, what the architecture is, how it works together.
And again, Joe is even getting slightly technical with his language. I cannot underscore enough that like just trying this stuff, just getting started, just seeing what it could do. Like I put a link at the bottom of the doc that's this thing called Claude Code for Everyone. And that kind of steps you through how to install this. Like if you have not used the command line, like we're talking about, this is you're like talking directly to the computer, not like with the mouse and the windows. This is like you're talking to the computer behind the scenes in its native language. And it is just much more powerful what you can do when you do that. Joe has, yeah, this is some
This
guide.
is something that I've been making, and I've been like trying to keep updated for all of this. And Bert touched on something really important. It's not just that you can. It's not just that you can ask Claude about things. But if you know the name for something now, I mentioned a PRD earlier, is an acronym, and tech and everything is full of acronyms. But just knowing what a PRD, a product requirements document, is, unlocked the ability for me to just ask Claude for a PRD for something. And that's a structured document that breaks down all of the requirements and needs and technology and tools for a particular task. Before that, I was just trying to plain language describe what I wanted. And now instead, I can ramble in a voice note, upload that transcript and say, turn this into a PRD, then take that
Product
PRD and
requirement
have it
document,
delete.
just to be clear what that is. Products
Yeah,
requirement.
I said, did I not say it? Oh, sorry. I meant to say it. So what I've done here is I've tried to do that for you guys. I have glossaries. Well, I don't know why this whole thing is bouncing, but I kind of like it. So what I've tried to do is I'm trying to collect definitions for things. So for database and systems, here are glossaries of what each thing is named and what it does, with a real world analogy, pros and cons, so that I just sometimes will just browse through here, or if I'll hear somebody else mention a term, I go, oh, what is that? And I go and I look and I say, oh, this is what that acronym stands for. This is how I could use it. Those kinds of things. And then once I name it, I can tame it. Or at least that's the goal here. So it's very important to like collect terms that you want to explore later. And I've got a whole bunch of resources here that you can download or add to, and all kinds of stuff here that I'm eager to.
Okay, should we let some other people share? I guess, are we
Yeah,
going to let us share their screen, or are you going to pull up the link
but
from what
drop the
people?
link and I'll pull up the link for you guys.
Okay, why don't we go to Ariane Bernard? So Salary Confidential, Ariane, you're here, right? You can
Unmute.
unmute
Yeah.
and chat, and Joe will walk through this. Yes.
Hi.
Hey,
Wow, somebody else is going to demo my thing.
Well,
Oh,
I'll pull it up for
great.
you. You
No,
can
no, no,
control my
no.
screen if you want. If you don't mind.
we could
This
just
is
talk about
great.
Control.
it. Yeah.
This is great. She is brand new. I announced her yesterday, so she's a baby.
All right.
I started working on this in July, and what this is that it's a platform basically it's a platform so you can run these very, very small surveys of people you know, like you're reaching out with them with like an invite and stuff, and to ask them like how much do you make? And the reason why this is a hard problem, because you're gonna be like, well, why don't you use a Google form? Obviously, that's gonna work. Is when samples. This is in general a problem, like it's an abstract problem. It's not an application. But when samples of data are very small, by anonymization breaks down. So what this does is that you know, because you know who you asked, you understand what the numbers mean to you. Like I asked someone who has exactly the same job, not someone who has the same title at Glassdoor, and I don't really understand, in what way they might be different.
By the
And
way, I gave
yet,
you control of the computer. If you want to click around for me,
oh, no,
you
that's
should be
fine.
able to.
That's fine.
Okay.
It's
We
also
gotta
this looks different on a Windows computer, so this is interesting for me.
Yeah.
good.
So that's another thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
but
Go
this
ahead.
is,
I'm
I mean,
like,
this is like you are a tech person, you do
yes.
work in technology, you do have a
Yeah.
technology background, but you're not a software developer per se. Like,
So I've learned to code over time. I think my first website was like when I was like 20 in college, but I'll tell you where this was transformative for me. I don't do DevOps, which is the whole thing, which basically takes I truly and I because I only work in like larger companies. Oh, it's not true because I did build a startup as well, but I basically always had people who actually knew what they were talking about and who could think about like sort of like the infrastructure and the pipelines that take your code to like full production. So I was always kind of like, I don't want to know nothing. And I knew things in a kind of like high level way, but you know, not to get myself out of that paper bag. This thing took care of it all. I am ignorant and I don't have to know anything, which we love to see. So, so I would say my best advice for anyone who like it might not be like your first vibe coding project. Maybe your first vibe coding project should be like a Google Chrome extension. Those are great. But if it's your second one, run everything on Cloudflare because you don't really have to like understand the infrastructure of anything. And then all you have to do is tell Claude, push push to this branch of my GitHub. And it kind of like scales horizontally forever, which scale horizontally, if that's not a word you're familiar with, means whether there's one person or a million, that's not really on you to figure out. Cloudflare will figure it out for you. And it sounds like it's this would have been for me a blocker in doing anything. Just So
Yeah.
it's clear.
No, and,
So
and that's the point kind of with why it matters that these tools are actually on your computer doing things. Like you can actually ask it to help you do this stuff to, okay,
yeah,
you want to put it on the web. It's not just running on your laptop. You want it somewhere where it's a site that anybody can access from the internet, right? Like it can literally like talk to
actually,
the coding assistant and ask it even what it recommends and how to do
I'll
that.
show you something a little less abstract
Yeah.
than running DevOps. Joe, if you go back to the website and you go down to like there's like a FAQ accordion section, and there's like a link to a report. Well, this that yeah, on the
Sorry, you
homepage
meant at the
now.
bottom. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, no, you're in the right place. So if you go down a little bit, there's like a like small, yep.
View a sample report.
Yep, go ahead. So this is a report of like this is a
Ooh.
real report. And it pulls the data from my database, but it also has charts. So if you go jump to section, there's like a bunch of charts that like show this stuff. If you like there's this is a bigger report, so exactly. There you go. Yep, data insights and visualization. It'll save you time because well you made it. So this is using recharts, which is a JavaScript library that does charts. Had I ever used rechart before? No. Did I know of recharts? Yes. Did I want to learn recharts? Absolutely fucking not. But you know how I got these beautiful, and they work perfectly because this is very easy to verify, which is another thing that like picking vibe coding for things where you can immediately verify that like this is doing the right thing because I know what the data is and it should look like this, and if it doesn't, then something is wrong. Um, is I did a lot of those things by like literally taking Figma, which is a design tool, and not even doing high fidelity thing. I was literally mocking up little bars and little like squiggly lines, and then noting my extremely high end like representation. Like, do I know what the goddamn whatever random plot thing that it calls it? No, but I was like, that's what I want.
I
And
love that you're using Figma. That's one of the things I really want to use. What I've done instead is because I'm too scared to use Figma right now is I just create mockups in Canva and give it a screenshot that are labeled and say like, can you make it look like this?
right, so
And so
same
I need
approach,
to
but
get
I'm
into
using.
Figma because I have the free EDU account that I should be using it, but it's a
Well,
little intimidating. So that's good to hear.
so basically it's like you have to kind of like know what your path is to verify that your work is right. In this case, the work shows itself in such a way that I have a very like a very easy way to verify the work, right? It's not true for like other things, right? If it's implementing Stripe, which is a payment processor, there's not as many ways to control other than like I see Stripe payments go through. It helps to have a technical background to like look at how it's structured, the data in your database or whatever. Or in my case, I told it how I wanted the data structured. But something like do me a chart with rechart and I want it to look like this and just showing like a really dirty bunch of colorful boxes that you like mocked up. I mean, use MS Paint or like whatever
Like
dingo
literally
stuff
draw
you
something on a napkin and take a
yeah.
screenshot and give it
Yeah,
to
yeah,
it, and
actually,
it would be able
honestly, that
to
would
do.
work.
Like,
That
okay,
actually probably
but
would work.
okay.
So,
Thank you very much, Ariane. Thank you so much for sharing. That's awesome. Somebody else. I might just
Who's
call in some
next?
random things, which I think are kind of wacky. Ricky Ferrer, are you here? Ricky, who has built a whole thing to monitor the Texas power grid. Ricky, if you want to unmute, and we'll quickly like.
Hello.
But
What's
Ricky,
up?
before you start explaining, please intro who you're affiliated with and what is your technical competency so that people know.
Yes, so I am the VP of Digital Products. I manage a team of developers, designers, and producers for D Magazine, which is a regional publication in Dallas, Texas. I have, I have built my first website in HTML in 1996, which was a Simpsons trivia site. But that's probably the extent of my knowledge. I do talk to developers on a regular basis. I talk to designers. I translate design to the tech team. So I know how to like talk enough to get things done essentially. So what these tools do for me now is I can just talk to these tools directly and they can build this. So Texas had a big power outage a few years ago with a winter storm, and there was another big one coming earlier this year. I realized that this is everyone was talking about, is the power going to go out this time? I did some research and I found ERCOT, which is supplies open source data via an API. And I vibe coded this through Lovable in about 1 hour on a Saturday morning while my kids were out of the apartment. So it was extremely easy. Lovable kind of walked me through how to generate an API key and get the access. It kind of, I asked it, okay, like what kind of data can I get? And then I just kind of was directing it from there. It was really vibey. I'm just saying like, okay, move that up, or can you get this information? Can you make that chart bigger? What I've learned since then is building those PRDs, implementing MDs. I've moved to Claude. I feel like I've graduated since then, but for like a 1 hour project, this was really quick, and we got a ton of traffic to this when we launched it, and now it just sits there.
No
I don't have to
console
touch it.
errors either. Nicely done. Zero console errors.
Ricky,
Yeah.
a question from Matt. Why Lovable? Are there advantage over Vibe codes?
I started using Lovable over the winter break around New Year's. A neighbor recommended it to me, and what I like about it is that everything happens in your browser on screen, and there's no pushing branches or anything like that. That kind of terminal stuff really intimidated me. Um, I've I've since moved away from Lovable because I feel like it's a bit of a closed garden, and I think there is a way to export your files to a GitHub repo now. But I get a little nervous that it's all going to be like stuck in Lovable and I'll have to keep paying Lovable
That is
forever. But
exactly why I moved away from Replit, which is very similar. The one that I would recommend for those who want to start and don't really want to move to the terminal yet would be app.new. It's the Google AI Studio. This is a really similar kind of a thing where you can explore the app gallery that other people have made and you can edit them, or you can just start with like an idea. Like, so you come up here and you say, I want to make an app that generates sprites for a game based on a sample or original sprite. And what this does is it creates all of the project files for you. You can also, it's also free up to a certain point. And it creates the file structure for you, very similar to what Replit does. It's Google's software development kit. And then you can publish the app, you can export it to GitHub, you can download the project file and continue working on it on your desktop with Claude Code or whatever. But it goes and goes ahead and does all of these things for you. It's specifically geared towards if you want to implement or incorporate like Gemini's image generation or audio generation or those APIs. But I like to try to take the approach, generally speaking, that you want to use AI to build stuff that doesn't need AI. So this is geared towards building stuff that will need AI, but you just talk to it here in the chat. You can upload files or screenshots. You can highlight stuff in the preview and say, change this or whatever. But I prefer to use this as a starting point, as an ideation. But when it comes to like more complex code, number one, Gemini kind of sucks at that once it gets too complex. And number two, you still are locked into this kind of an interface. So if you want to do something different or incorporate databases or whatever, it can be a little bit tricky. But I had that same issue or concern about Lovable versus Replit, because all of a sudden I'm getting like another subscription for Replit, and I'm like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Yeah,
What about
exactly.
Giovanni, contextualizer? Joe, why don't you pull us up? Giovanni, are you still
Giovanni?
here?
Oh, okay. I'll put Ricky back there.
I am there. Hello.
Hey,
Okay,
what's
let me
up?
see if I can get my video turned on. But if not, you will hear me. So, contextualizer, some of you already know this. Say it again.
Say who you are and where you're from. I mean, your organization. Yeah.
Yes. Hi, everybody. Giovanni Mujaez. I'm over at iNewsSource in San Diego. We're a small nonprofit, investigative rooted newsroom that's doing a lot more community news. And so now we've, over the last 9 months, created this tool called Contextualizer. Basically, it's a way to highlight more complex or maybe lesser known terms and stories, especially for people that are not used to reading some stories on specific beats. What Joe's showing you right now is the glossary page, but that's not actually the tool. So the tool is, if you scroll down, you're going to see highlights on certain words on stories. When you click on them, you'll actually get a little description of what that term means. There's also an opportunity to let us know whether that was helpful to you or not, suggesting a term, reporting an issue with it, and a call to action to donate. It's very accessible. There's a lot of ARIA code in the back end of it as well. Also, an opportunity to push people to other articles in which that term was used. There's a lot of console errors happening, but it's not console errors for
That's fair. A lot of those are
contextualizer.
probably my browser extensions too.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
maligned you there.
It's definitely not that. But yeah, like stuff like Snap, right? Like Snap is not something that is super obvious necessarily to everyone, maybe certain readers of ours. And so it's kind of a non-invasive way to give people additional context if they want it. And if they don't, they can just keep reading along. And so this is an effort really to make it so that our reporters and whatnot don't have to necessarily write, graphs and graphs of text to kind of reiterate what maybe has been said in a previous story, or just higher up in the story. If there's a term that could use some additional explanation, here's an opportunity to do that. And so this is all
What
being powered.
happens? Sorry, go
Say that
ahead.
again, Joe.
No,
Sorry.
no, continue.
Go
I was
ahead.
just saying, what happens when I click this yes or no? Do you get a notification?
Yeah, so because I'm not sharing my screen, I would be able to show you my analytics exploration page. So basically, all of this is being captured in GA. I have a bunch of different data points and custom events that I'm able to capture, which is really helpful. And all of the terms are being hosted as custom posts within
Oh,
WordPress. So this really helps with API calls. So for instance, in the beginning, I had all of this being powered from a Google spreadsheet. I had an app script on the back end of it,
yep.
and it was sending it to WordPress. Now, I'm no longer doing that. It's all custom posts. It's all within the CMS. I can export
Oh,
and
so your
import
coworkers
that.
can go in and edit the individual posts and it'll update.
Correct.
Oh, that's genius. I love that.
Yeah. So we are currently looking actually right now for 3 or 4 other newsrooms who want to pilot this with us because we've seen some really good initial data and feedback from our audience, and then eventually hoping to turn this into an earned revenue opportunity down the road.
I think I
So
wrote about this. I not wrote about this. I think I included your thing in the case studies for the LLM advisor tool. I remember writing about this, the contextualizer. Where is it? But yeah, I've sent many people to. Oh no, I think it was the dejargonizer. That was the science dejargonizer. But yeah,
I
I've heard
see.
people mention this. This is really great. I love this because it's simple and it's integrated into your current CMS, and it's that extra little boost here. And then of course, the addition called, the call to action is also great.
Yeah, and oh,
Ooh,
that's good.
uh-oh.
That's not fun. I gotta fix that one. I
Oh,
think
and we can't
oh
report an issue
no.
either. This is
Okay.
classic. That's
So
funny.
these are redirect links that are clearly not redirecting. So
Yeah.
I need to figure that out. But another thing I mentioned, Joe, is you see that kind of like glowing halo around the term box when you open it up. So my inspiration with
Ooh.
that was Siri on newer phones. When you call Siri up, you kind of get this glow around your phone. And the idea is as we continue to do more either AI supported or AI informed products on our site, we want to kind of give readers eventually this understanding that when they see that, they know that there's an information layer behind it that maybe is not fully human.
So
So
you guys are
yeah.
writing these, obviously. These are humans who are writing these, or at
Yes.
least editing these. How do you decide which terms to highlight?
So right now, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of things you can highlight. So I think we look at the stories that are most often getting a lot of clicks. We look at heat maps to see maybe where people are sticking around on a story. That can be really helpful as well. But right now, we kind of have been looking at terms that are either in the weeds or often misunderstood. So even nonprofit, right? Nonprofit's a term that everybody sort of knows, but a lot of readers don't really know what exactly is a nonprofit as opposed to a for-profit, right? And so things like that, I think we're starting with that. We've only had it live for about 3 months now, so it's relatively new, but the initial data is really, really promising. And again, like hopefully this turns out to be something that can be more helpful to other newsrooms as well.
Awesome.
Let's thank you so much. Thank you for sharing that. Should we get somebody else up here? Maybe Greg, which has gregarious. Are you still there, Greg?
I'm still here.
Nice. Hey, dude, what's up? Yeah. Your project is
And
quite complicated or quite advanced, but yeah, why don't you
and please remember to introduce your affiliation and your level of technical competency.
Sure. Yeah. So hi everyone. I'm Greg from Pluribus Labs. Polygraph is an AI fact checking or fact gathering tool. It is entirely vibe coded. Expertise wise, I was an engineer for 25 years, but then also didn't code for 12 years in the middle, kind of from the time when I met Burt onwards. I was a more of a CTO and CPO. So I'm technical, but haven't written code for quite some time. But yeah, so this is Polygraph. What this attempts to do is to fact check content using AI. So this example here is showing what the Nick Shirley video, for example. If you click the play button, you can get like sort of a playable
Hello, we'd like to
overlay.
ask.
It jumps through claims, adds like a lower thirds to the
I
screen as
love
well.
this at the bottom. This is so
Then I
cool.
started to see all
This is such a great interface.
Thank you. Front end design skills. I would highly recommend that you install skills in whatever AI you're using now. They make all the difference. Skills.sh is a great resource for generic skills, but I've even seen that one. That looks cool.
This is
But
my own one. This is the one I made, so I just had to
oh,
show that
nice.
real quick.
Yeah, no, that's
But yeah,
great.
skills are excellent. We could talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, you should definitely use skills. I used the front end design skill to actually redesign this from the really shitty looking version that we had before. But so this provides like a number of views though. Everything is AI. There's no human intervention. So you can the system uses a variety of tools to try to figure out what kind of claims are being made. We transcribe it using assembly AI, and then we diarize it so that you can tell which speaker is who. We have voice fingerprinting now on the back end, so we can don't yeah, you shouldn't be able to do that actually. This speed block. um, but yeah, the idea is that you can the claims get run through sort of human fact checkers, web search, biographical search, etc., to try to see if we could determine kind of where the content is going. We're not this tool in particular is not political, so there's no political bias per se built into this. Like it just sort of tries to be as objective as possible. We're about to relaunch it in a week or so, or towards the end of the month, where you can actually use it. But today you can play around with it by putting your own API keys in.
This is cool, man. This is really cool. I would one thing that I notice all the time, ever since I learned this, is you guys always add a favicon to your websites. Apparently, if you don't have a favicon, hackers see that as like a symbol of like an underdeveloped website, and they target it. But this is incredible. It's so deep. Like there's so much depth to this. I love the entity tracking. This is something that I struggled with for a while in building like the Jay Rosen archive. I've tried to map his career for like the last 35 years, and I ran these entity extraction scripts forever to try to figure out like who is mentioned, when they're mentioned. And I tried to put together this like where is it? The network explorer, to like where you click on something and it shows you all the other interrelated networks and see or records in the archive, and then you get to download like a PNG of that individual article or piece of work as like a little like stupid artwork thing. But your tracking here it looks gorgeous. I love the sidebar approach, viewing all the claims. Like, this is crazy. I did not know this existed.
Thanks.
This is obviously
Yeah.
not just a weekend project. This is something that you've been building out for quite a while.
Is this hosted on GitHub? Like, is this open? Is this an open repo? Like, where
No, it's not open. We were going to launch it as a commercial app. It's not open for a couple of reasons. We thought about it originally, but unfortunately, once people know more about it, then they might try to game it or put up alternative versions.
Yeah, true. Okay.
So we do publish the prompts, right? Like, so you can see how we
I
prompt
would
on
love to see people localize it, like smaller newsrooms to regionalize or localize this, or maybe you license it to people or something, or to newsrooms.
Yeah, we'll have a plan like that when you sign up, so you get some credits to do that. And yeah, we do
Very
target. What did it vibe coded in? Yeah, so someone asked, does it work on YouTube or is it any content? Actually, you can give it a YouTube, TikTok, tweets, whatever you like. It'll analyze stuff that's built in also. So if you like put a tweet with a photo, it analyzes the photo to determine if there's any misinformation in the photo. I built it all in Cloud Code in a terminal. I have an IDE, but it's usually for just editing environmental files now. I don't actually look at the code anymore. Yeah, everything was in Claude. Yeah, just to understand timelines, I built the first version in like 2 or 3 days. Right, like I was able to sort of do the basic extraction. It took about another 2 more weeks to polish it to where I had like more of the mappings, and then I spent most of January working on it, basically to get it to the shape that you see it now.
Cool. I see some people in chat are having some invalid origin sign-in issues, so we got some bugs.
You have to make sure you have www in there. There's a weird deployment bug we need to fix still.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
This is
not
the classic. This is the classic issue. I just had to get my app, my Google app, verified by
yeah.
Google Cloud, just because for the Collaborative Journalism Summit. So I've vibe coded a whole CMS for the Collaborative Journalism Summit, including like a whole backend and like editor and pages and everything like this. And I wanted user authentication, and I wanted an admin panel, and so we can see users and track users and stuff. And one of the features of this thing is like once you sign in, you can bookmark sessions for your schedule. And then you have a button here that says add your 12 saved sessions to Google Calendar. And when you click on it, right now I have to remove this because it gave you a big scary, this app has not been verified by Google. And now it's finally today, as of today, it was verified. So then I can click OK. I sign into my Google Calendar and it adds my bookmarked sessions to the Google Calendar for that, for all my bookmarks and everything. But it is such a pain in the ass. Once you start having users and having people sign in, it is a nightmare. And
Yeah.
so really great learning experience. It's crazy.
One shortcut, if you don't want to do all of that, is you can use some of the, like if you're using a database, you can use something like Supabase or
I use Firebase Google Auth for that. Yeah.
So sometimes they'll have it built in, and
Yeah.
you
Well,
still
they
don't
do,
get
but if
around.
you need extra
You still have to put
permissions,
your own
like
tokens
at
in.
their calendar and stuff, that's
Yeah.
where I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
But yeah, Firebase is what I use. Supabase scared me. It was a little too, like, it felt like it was a little too much. And Firebase is from Google, so you can do Google Auth logins right from there. The challenge is like you have to make sure that you don't become too successful, and then you get on the pay as you go plan, and you have to set hard budget limits so that all of a sudden, oh look, I forgot to compress all of the images for all the profile pictures for the speakers, and now it's serving gigabytes to every user every time they load full res users. But anyway,
Yeah, so we're
at the
coming up on the end here. We're coming up on 1 o'clock, and I don't want to keep you all too long. I know this was kind of an experiment that we did this session, so I appreciate you all sticking around for our thing where we just I guess just opening this up to share things and see what people are sharing. I mean, that I think the message I really do want to drive home for people who haven't tried it. I know some terms got thrown around, different, IDEs, GitHub, whatever, Supabase, Firebase, all these things. Like, don't let this intimidate you. Like, please, like, you should just go and try some of this. And don't worry, you're not going to delete your whole computer. Like there are security things in place. I would hugely suggest you try this. And I put a resource at the bottom of this page, which is Claude Code for Everyone that somebody shared with me at a recent conference. There's actually really interesting ways you can use these resources that aren't even necessarily to write code. Like by using Claude to work with files, it can actually help you like effectively like become your like personal assistant with like you're planning your day and helping you write things and complete applications you might need to do for fellowships and things like that. Like literally, I know you can use AI to do this. It just becomes much more powerful when it's using these interfaces that can actually directly manipulate files and directly, do things on your computer to actually help you get things done, which gets into the whole, rabbit hole of things like OpenClaw, which is like having an agent that can like go out and do stuff.
I gave mine its own Gmail calendar and Google Drive account and its own Gemini subscription. I got a little carried away.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that is crazy. Yeah. Joe has literally set up a bot, basically an agent, right, for anybody at your organization who can email and kind of leverage.
They're whitelisted. They can. Yeah, I have a write up in the chat there. But what should we take the transcript, the chat log, and the resource Google Doc and like turn it into a formal resource roundup kind of a thing after this, you think?
So yeah, thanks for joining. I know, yeah, the time is up. We'll take some of this stuff. We'll share it back with everybody. And if you still want to share things that you want to show and tell, like please feel free to do so in the chat. Thank you so much for coming. Again, we have our bigger AI journalism summit also in May, which we have the link there, and we'll share it out with everybody.
Same week as the collaborative journalism.
Yes, unfortunately it conflicts, which is why I had to have Joe at this extra event so I could still do something with Joe, even though he can't come to our event in person. So yeah, thank you again, everybody, for coming. Thanks. Joe, and yeah, good luck. Like, please reach out if you have questions. Like, I again, like, happy to help anybody. I'm sure Joe is happy to help anybody.
I've
Like,
doxed myself on the internet many times, so you can email me
yes,
directly. Go ahead.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, look forward to seeing what you all create with all this stuff. Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody. Thanks again.